Putin said the U.S. better stop arming Ukraine. Or if we don't, we risk, quote, unpredictable consequences, end quote. You bald little prick. Unpredictable consequences. So Russia sent a bunch of warnings to the Biden administration, including, and this cracks me up, including a formal diplomatic protest demanding that the United States halt shipments of advanced weapons to Ukraine that might strike into Russian territory. I mean, I heard the other day that some of these experts who are following all this shit, they say, no, Putin's not crazy. Crazy, to a large extent, depends on context. You know, if you lived in if you live in a society 10,000 years ago that ate human beings, you wouldn't be crazy in eating human beings because that's what everybody did, right? But if you tried to do that now, you would probably be labeled as like Trump or crazy or both. Now, this diplomatic note from Putin to Biden was sent through normal channels, according to two administration officials. It was not signed by Putin or other senior Russian officials, but it was an indicator, according to, some of these administration officials in our government, that the weapons sent by the United States so far were having an effect. No shit. And I know this. I know this to be a fact. So do you. You know this. That military leaders in this country have been closely monitoring the movements, the actions, the incompetence of the Russian military on the ground. Now, granted, when you have nuclear weapons and high-tech missiles and all sorts of sophisticated weapons, you can cause an enormous amount of death and destruction and pain and suffering and damage and just flatten cities but when your people on the ground are incompetent little pricks who are murderous son of a bitches who execute people while they're fleeing, while the soldiers are fleeing, they turn around and kill civilians. When your military is comprised of subhumans like that, I think it's very easy to determine, a U.S. military people to determine, that this is an army that the United States fighting soldiers and Marines could wipe out very quickly. I'm not trying to get into war games here or war porn or any of that shit. I hate all of it. But this is what's going on. So like you, I will take note of it, make observations about it, and draw some conclusions. I hate the whole goddamn thing. I really do. But it's what's happening. And the diplomatic note, according to people through whose hands this note passed, said that the note also suggested that the Russians were concerned about this new tranche of more sophisticated offensive weaponry that, I don't know, maybe they don't have. Oh, we have a hypersonic missile. Oh, do you? Well, okay. My dog's bigger than your dog. We have, you see how that goes? Anyway, what they're complaining about is this nearly $1 billion package that Biden announced the day after this warning was delivered by the Russian embassy in Washington to the Biden administration. And American officials who handled this said the tone of the note was consistent with a series of public Russian threats, including this threat a week or so ago, that they were going to start targeting deliveries of weapons as they moved across Ukrainian territory. Well, I don't think the Russians are bright enough to figure out which transports are carrying American weapons or French weapons or British weapons. And see, if we had a no-fly zone over Ukraine, the point would be moot anyway, because I'm reasonably sure from what I've seen so far, as a civilian observer, that's all, with no expertise about the machinations of warfare. But it seems to me, from my observations, from the videos I've seen, that the Russians don't know fucking how to fly in the skies anyway, or fly anywhere. Where else are you going to fly, Mike? Well, in the skies, right? That the Russian pilots don't know how to fly. They don't know how to do combat missions in the air. And the only reason they are as successful as they are, and we don't know to what degree they are successful, is because they don't have any resistance from a Ukrainian Air Force, because they don't have the planes. Damn. Now, according to Biden administration officials, this warning from the assholes in the Kremlin did not prompt any special concern. But obviously, it's touched off a discussion inside the Pentagon, especially the Pentagon, but also inside other areas of the Biden administration, the intelligence agencies, about whether the so-called unpredictable consequences could include trying to target or sabotage some of these weapons shipments from us while they are still in NATO territory before they're handed off to Ukrainians. Now, if that happens, well, Article 5 of the NATO agreement would come into play, wouldn't it? Article 5 being, you fuck with one of us, 30, you fuck with all of us, and you're going to get that kind of response. Well, we'll see. Now, again, I hope I don't want to come across as a war porn talker here. I don't, but I have to finish this article and this news item, and that is the weapons that Biden authorized this week to be sent to the Ukrainians include long-range artillery that American officials say is suited for a different style of battle in the open areas, the vast plains, you might call them, of the Donbass, where Russian troops appear to be massing for an attack in coming days. How easy it would be to prevent that attack if the Ukrainian Air Force, if there was a Ukrainian Air Force that had the proper aircraft to fly over areas like that, these long convoys, and just turn them into fucking dust. And then there's a quote here. It says, while Pentagon officials were insistent in the long run-up to the war in February that the United States provide only defensive weaponry that would avoid escalation, the nature of Russia's attacks, including direct attacks on civilians and non-military targets, appears to have muted that debate. Well, I would hope to fucking shout. These Russians are proving something that I'm shocked. I knew the Russian leadership and the oligarchs were gangsters. Putin runs Russia literally the way a mafia don runs a mafia family. It is exactly the same. And that's what Trump was trying to model. I don't know if he was using the mafia in where Trump grew up or if he was using Putin. Probably Putin as his model. But there is no reason at this point, now that it's become incredibly, sickeningly apparent that the Russian soldier is a monstrous, murdering son of a bitch. Where did these people come from? But this is a kind of man that is developed, or that develops in a society like the one Russian men have to deal with in their own country. A dictatorship where this macho bullshit, Putin right around with his nipples hanging out, acting like a man when he's not a man. He's a fucking little punk. And these Russian men, I don't know. They think that's the thing to do, is kill babushkas and children and old men walking along the side of the road as the Russians retreat, tie their hands, shoot them in the head. What the fuck? My estimation of Russians has dropped considerably. 10 stories, right into the fucking basement. And I hate that. I really do. I've always been fascinated by the Russian people about their determination to continue to survive. And I've said before, their literature, their art, their history, their music, their composers, their poets. Wow. But this... And I know I should be more discriminating. I shouldn't just blanket the entire population together and say, fuck them, they're a bunch of savages. But I don't know what to do. That's like saying that the German people were savages because of the Nazis. No, can't do that. But this is so, for me, unexpected. Unexpected. And then, of course, we have the sinking of the Moskva, the Russian flagship in the Black Sea. 2 Ukrainian Neptune missiles are what brought that ship to the bottom of the Black Sea. That's according to a senior defense official in this country, said today. And that provides the first American confirmation that the sinking of that cruiser was the result of the Ukrainian missile strike, not this horse shit that Putin tried to tell people. Now, how do American military officials know this sort of thing? This is where the military expertise that I lack comes in. I'm sure they can look at whatever information is available to look at. I'm sure that the entire Russian fleet that's in the Black Sea is being closely monitored with cameras from satellite, satellite imagery. And I'm sure that in the imagery, it became clear that, shoom, shoom, there go 2 missiles, thud, there goes the Moskva. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.